In this video, I'll be going through my predictions for the 2024 driver standings, and we will revisit these results at the end of the season to see how I got on. Let's get into the video. We start in P20, and that's going to be Zhou Guanyu. I personally don't believe that Sauber are going to push on, or Stake F1 team, as they're now known. I don't think they are going to improve or develop from their position last season, and unfortunately for Zhou, as it is a contract year as well, with a young driver like Teo Pourchaire in the ranks, I believe that this could be his last chance in Formula 1 at this point in time. In P19, I have Kevin Magnussen. For the same reasons as Zhou, I think Haas are equally in a poor position, and I don't see Kevin really improving as much, hitting those highs of that pole position in Brazil a few years ago, but Haas will need a good day, all things to line up in the right place for them to be scoring points this season. So it's P19 for Kevin. P18, I have Valtteri Bottas. I feel more of the same reasons for Zhou as well. Bottas has been really off the pace the last few seasons and has been slowly declining, more noticeably in the second half of both the 2022 and the 23 season. And I believe that this form will continue and Bottas will finish in P18. And P17, I have Nico Hülkenberg. Now, Haas, Stake F1 team, they're going to be always at the back, I feel. I can't see, even though the experienced drivers are there, I just don't feel that they will be pushing in the right direction, and 2024 may well be a write-off for both of them. And unfortunately, Nico Hülkenberg, along with the other three drivers as well, they were all going to be impacted by this. So I believe it's going to be P17 for Hülkenberg. On to my next prediction, and I believe the driver who's going to make the most improvement, let's say, will be Logan Sargent. I think Logan will benefit from a developed Williams car. Along with this, his first point scored near the end of last season as well will help him up to P16 in the championship. And on the flip side of things, in P15, I have Lance Stroll, who I believe is going to make steps backwards again. Unfortunately for him, I just feel like his time in F1 is up, and there's other drivers coming through the ranks, especially even in Aston Martin with Felipe Drugovich pushing for that seat, and that pressure could buckle and force Lawrence Stroll's hand in pulling his son out of the seat. In P14, I think Yuki Tsunoda is going to finish exactly the same as he did last season. I think Yuki's in a good spot, and I think with the rebrand of the team and moving closer to Milton Keynes, I think they will reap the rewards of a better car and more successful points scoring weekends. In P13, I have arguably the driver of last season, Alex Albon. I think we're going to see more glimpses of the driver that could be Alex Albon at that top level next season, but I feel like the Williams may limit him in times, so that's why I believe that P13 is the right spot for him. And in P12, returning to the grid for his first full season since 2022, is Daniel Ricciardo. Likewise with Yuki, with the better developed RB Visa Cash App car, as it is known, I believe that Daniel could score some big points on occasions, and hopefully he's consistently in and around that P10 to P13 mark on race weekends. So it's P12 in my opinion. So in P11 and then in P10 it's both Alpine drivers. We'll start in P11 with Esteban Ocon. I feel Esteban Ocon is a great driver on race day and always gets the most out of the car, and you can see it with his one race win in Hungary where there was chaos going on, but he managed to pull through and clutch up with a very good, strong defensive drive. Then in P10 is Pierre Gasly. I think Pierre's just that little bit further ahead of Ocon, and also I believe that the team may be pulling more in his direction for this season, and that will benefit Pierre in the championship. Along with that, we may see some strong individual races from Pierre. In P9, I have Fernando Alonso. Aston Martin were making some interesting starts in 2023, where Alonso managed to get multiple podium finishes. All he was missing was that one win. I do believe it may come this year, but on the other side of things, I also believe that the other teams have been developing in the right direction, while Aston Martin have sort of fallen off the pace a little bit. So that's why I believe that Alonso may end up finishing only in P9. In P8, I have George Russell. Now, like Aston Martin, Mercedes don't seem to be developing in the right direction as well, which has been noted as you can see their lack of wins over the last 2-3 years during this regulations, with the only win coming in Brazil in 2022 with this man, George Russell. But I can't see them. This development, it will improve. And Mercedes' bad weekends are, 5th and 6th finishes. So that's why I believe that George will probably finish in P8. In P7, I have Oscar Piastri. Now, McLaren, they improved their car rapidly in 2023, starting as back markers, doubled DNF in the first race, I believe, and then they've just gone leaps and bounds from there with multiple podiums from both sides of the garage, and also a win in the sprint in Qatar for Piastri as well. So I believe that Oscar's going to keep that consistency up and finish in P7 in the championship this season. Moving on to the top 6, and in P6 I have Carlos Sainz, who unfortunately has just lost his seat to Lewis Hamilton for 2025 at Ferrari. I believe Carlos will have some strong weekends, building from that race win in Singapore, and hopefully he's able to find his feet at a new team in 2025. Then in P5 I have Sergio Perez. Perez has, let's say he's had a fairly eventful time at Red Bull, ranging from real highs of race wins to some serious lows of going out in Q1 and not making it to the lights at the end of the weekend. I believe Perez will finish in P5, and it will be very much question marks as to whether or not he will be in the Red Bull seat in 2025. In P4, I have Lewis Hamilton. Moving on from the news that he's just joining Ferrari in 2025, really exciting for Formula One as a sport, and I'm hoping that the move works out really well for Lewis as he pushes for that 8th World Championship. But I believe in his final year at Mercedes, I think P4 is probably the limit for Lewis. And statistically, normally most years, you could probably make a safe bet that Lewis will finish in the top 5 in the driver's standings. Moving on to the podium for my predictions, and we start in P3, where I have Lando Norris. Moving on from a very exciting 2023 season from Lando, I believe that in 2024, that positive momentum and trajectory can keep going in this direction, and we hopefully will see Lando get on the top step of Formula One for the first time in his career. And my runner-up in this season is Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is arguably the fastest driver over one lap in Formula One. Look at the pole position statistics for you. I mean, they're astronomical when you compare it to poles to wins, and this is where Charles needs to improve, and he knows that himself, admitting it multiple times in the media. I'm hoping that this season he does step in that right direction and get those improved results on race weekends, and maybe even, let's see, he could even fight Verstappen. But that leads us on to P1, and it had to be. And for the 4th consecutive season in a row, Max Verstappen will win the Formula One World Championship. I think what Red Bull and Verstappen are in at this moment in time is something which you rarely see in sports, and it's just perfect connection with driver and car. It's all lining up perfectly. Strategy, the pit stops, everything is perfect, and Red Bull just keep on ticking away, getting all those wins, and I feel like this season could end up being a repeat of the last 2 years. But we hope not, but in reality, we all probably know that it's highly likely. So then guys, those are my predictions for this F1 season. I'll be showing a list of them now, P20 down to P11, and then P10 down to P1. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts on this video, along with my predictions. And if you did enjoy it and would like to see more Formula One content coming soon to the channel, do feel free to hit the subscribe button. I feel like our next video may be looking at some of the liveries, or even some of my favourite tracks, and ranking them on a little tier list. But anyway, until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one.